Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we explore the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time. In this, our 5th season, we are looking at Joe Johnston's 2011 film, Captain America: The First Avenger. I'm Andy Nelson from the Next Reel Film Podcast.
And I'm Pete Wright. And wait, the tour was canceled. Canceled?
Today, we are talking about Minute 75, which begins with a meeting of the two Steves and ends with Peggy asking Steve if he can try some new equipment from Howard in the morning. Back on the show, sadly for the last time, we have Jonathan and Tabitha Carlisle, the team behind the Princess Bride Minute. Hello again, you two.
Hello.
Before we dig into the minute, one of the things we like to ask our guests is favorite Captain America moments. What would you two say from the movies or the comics or wherever are your favorite 1 or 2 Captain America moments?
Or internet fan fiction. I mean, any Captain America moment is fair game.
Oh, boy. Yeah, Tab's pointing at me because she doesn't want to go first. So I got to vamp a bit. I mean, I want to disqualify it because it's an obvious one, but Captain America picking up the hammer. Okay. But so that doesn't seem very personal because that seems in my mind that should be everybody's favorite. So I'd like to pick something else.
I don't think too hard about this movie. I have a hard time having favorites on anything. And so I've not thought about this movie 1 minute at a time before. And so there's a lot of things I just gloss over. And for some reason, I just really like this whole movie. And so I was going to say this whole movie, but I really like in...
Your favorite Captain America moment is Captain America, the movie?
Captain America, the First Avenger. But I do like when he goes, language in the Avengers. That one cracks me up every time.
I do like, I guess, it seems like a weird moment, but I do like in... all the subtitles suddenly ran out of my head, but the Winter Soldier, I think, is... Anyway, so towards the beginning, when they're getting ready to do the drop on the boat, and as him and Black Widow are bantering, I just like the whole thing about the barbershop quartet, and they're dead, and he just, eventually just jumps out of the plane like no big deal. Like I don't know. It just, that whole man out of time stuff, but also his casualness of doing crazy, risky things. And I don't know. I guess I'll say that's my answer, is that scene. Oh, him punching the bag. That's a good one. I like that scene.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So when he's working off some steam. Yeah.
No, that just hit that's my favorite.
When Jonathan said the man out of time, I think that's one thing I like about him is I just kind of like his, just that old school values, it's just like he has like this politeness about him, and just that I don't know. This is making me sound, I don't know how this is making me sound, but this isn't a Make America Great Again speech. This is just like, I just like his just simple values and honoring, and I don't know. I just like Captain America. I don't have a good answer.
All of Captain America? All of it.
I just like him. Well, no, I mean, he's a character who's easy to like because of those reasons. Like, I think that he brings that kind of simplicity to it. But and then also, those out of time moments and all those moments where he's jumping out of planes so casually. I mean, essentially, it's like he keeps just doing these humble brags. It's just like, I can just do this. I don't even have to think about it. It's funny. He's a fun character.
Okay, so that's not our minute, but like him jumping out of a plane, lots of stuff happens off screen. I get that, but when did he know that he could do that? Did he
yeah.
I imagine he parachuted one time and his parachute failed, and he just did what he had to do, and he's like, oh, I guess I don't need a parachute.
Yeah.
At least for going over water.
Yeah. So many questions.
I thought, so since you're talking about favorite moments, I didn't realize that I had a favorite Captain America moment that was actually in this minute.
Oh
my.
We've been talking about this minute, around and about this minute, since we were talking about I Could Do This All Day. And I'm pretty sure, Andy, you dropped the hint that we would be coming back to this actor at second 5 in this minute. We get to see the barman with Captain America, and the barman is played by Leander Deeny, Small Steve. And there is something like my cup runneth over with joy to see these two bodies unadorned with CG on screen at the same time. I just love it. I love it so much. This little nod to actually get Leander Deeny to say something. I don't know, what does he say? Where are you putting all those or something like that?
Yeah,
like,
where are they putting all this?
Where are they putting all this? It's just adorable, and I love it. I love it so much.
You just want to pinch his little cheeks. Look at the little guy. He talks too.
Little guy.
This is terrible.
It's such a neat, like, cinematic echo because of all of the amazing technological hoops they jumped through to make this character work in the first, act of the movie. That I think it's worth noting how cool it is to see them on screen at the same time for me.
Definitely, because I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to see him. I mean, it's not the first time it's been done. I mean, we had it a couple years before in Social Network. We get the other, the body double for the Winklevi, comes to the door of a party or something. So I do like,
Andy,
though, that directors
the body
give them...
double of Armie Hammer was a giant of an oak of a man.
I'm just saying.
There is nothing cool about that because he was already awesome. This is so cool because they manufactured a human out of these two humans.
Yeah.
And there is part of it right there.
All right. It's fun. It is nice. I do like that Leander does get to actually have a moment in the film. I think that's fantastic.
He looks so normal too, right? Like, he doesn't look like a diminutive man here. He looks like a normal sized person to me. It's just that Chris Evans looks giant.
Well, I think that's what it is. Like, when you kind of blend the two, it almost ends up making it seem even smaller.
Yeah, even smaller. I think that's it, because Leander Deeny does not seem like little Steve.
No, he definitely does not. Definitely does not.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's interesting in this scene, this is something that we've had a number of times, and I've never seen it in a script until this film, where they script alternate lines. And here they have 3 different line options for the bartender. They are, and I want you all to vote on what is your favorite choice of his lines. In response to Steve when he asks for more, his line options. Number 1, you drink all these yourself? Number 2, where are they putting all this? Number 3, it is possible to run out, So those are your 3 options. Tabitha, which one would you pick?
I think I would stick with the one that he said.
Where are they putting all this?
Where are they putting all this? Yeah.
Okay. Jonathan, how about you?
I agree, because at least in the scene that we're looking at, it looks like their table's right next to the bar.
Right.
So why would he not know who's drinking it?
Exactly.
Right.
And also, I don't know that he owns this bar, but still, as a business, you don't really want to let people know, like, you don't have the stock.
Right.
Hey, everybody, we're running out.
Yeah.
Even if it's a joke. But yeah, so I think it's.
I think they made the right choice.
Plus, I
like that you're bringing so much logic to it.
Yeah. Plus, I feel like I've actually heard people say that before. Like, where are you putting all this? Like, that's the thing that people say. So,
Yeah.
I regret that you just put that much thought into it, because I immediately went for line number 3, and now I realize that's a terrible one. I just like that it makes the bartender kind of an ass. I think it's really fun.
Well, because the natural answer is to be like, well, I'm Captain America, and so yes, I could drink all of these myself, and it wouldn't be a problem. So
I could drink these all day.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. Pub songs. I want to talk about this because we do get the switch over to pub songs, and they're going to be playing now. There is a tavern in this town. We get an interesting shift here where we actually cut to the pianist busy at the keys. And like so many pub songs, the lyrics of this song really tell a very depressing tale. Like, it is about a woman who is mourning the loss of her love, who basically is now hanging out in this tavern with this other woman that he's with, and she's just going to die of love. And that's kind of it, where she has to say goodbye to this person that she's pining for. Very kind of depressing, which feels like there are so many songs like this. I always go to, the kids' song, Ring Around the Rosie, and you hear the lyrics and you're like, oh, wow, that's about the Black Plague or whatever. It's like dark, dark, dark. Are there any modern versions of like pub songs, like things that people sing around in pubs? Can you guys think of anything?
Billy Joel.
Well, but I mean, yeah,
Elton John.
I mean, I guess you can sing songs in a pub, but I mean, maybe that's just like this was just a song of the time, and now people are singing it, and that really is just what turns a song into a pub song.
I think that's my take on it.
So what Billy Joel and Elton John songs are you singing with the whole bar?
Okay, Piano Man.
Party. I was just gonna say Piano.
Okay,
say Party in the USA or something like that.
Party in the
USA. Yeah. So Miley Cyrus, Kelly Clarkson, and then Elton John and Billy Joel. Right. Candle in the Wind.
You're going to sing
head and shoulders, knees and toes.
Yeah.
Is it goes along with this tune?
It's right. It totally does. That's what exactly I was thinking. I'm like, why are they singing this? And then I was like, oh, it's an actual song.
I didn't even think about it till later. Like I looked up the song. I was like, what song are they singing? And like looked into trying to find what song it was. And then later I was like getting around for bed and I'm like, why am I humming Head and Shoulders, Knees and Toes? And I'm like, oh man, that totally fits.
That is hilarious.
That's awesome.
That is so funny.
But there is also, there's a few different like hymns or, like, I don't know that Amazing Grace was one of them, but there's like a hymn, a church song that shares a tune with a old pub song. So that was like a thing back in the day. Like, oh, you can't sing a pub song in church. Like, well, we changed the lyrics, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like that probably happened a lot where they just liked the melody and maybe they were just like thinking about, well, what could we sing instead of, we all know the tune to this.
Booze and death to this hymn.
Oh, it's very funny. But I like the tone it sets. It feels very, kind of everybody's drinking, having a good time sort of vibe that we have going on here.
Yeah, I like those kind of a call and response songs, where you're singing it and then everybody goes in together and stuff. It is a camaraderie is happening and it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet Caroline, there's one. I think that would be that's one to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Sweet Home Alabama.
Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to have sweet in there.
Sweet dreams are made of this. I don't know if that's really a pub song. But
it's a depressing pub. Lighting's really low.
Yes, right. So we're now shifting over. Steve is going to join Bucky in the other room. And this is essentially, I mean, the Howling Commandos, they all were very easy to jump in and be recruited. And I do think it's funny that, Dum Dum's comment at the beginning of this minute is, oh, that was easy. But really, it's like, yeah, but Steve just got you to sign on to go fight and potentially die. So, sure, I'll open a tab for you. But this is really his chance now to recruit Bucky. Let's talk about this conversation with Bucky and how it plays, the conversation between the two of them. What do you all think of this?
I think that we actually have Steve saying Captain America with air quotes around it, Andy. Even Steve believes his captainhood is honorary.
He's not putting quotes just around Captain. He's putting it around Captain America. Yeah. There's a difference in air quotage.
Because he's still just Steve. He's not the honorary Captain America. He's just Steve. Even Steve thinks he's just Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Honorary.
Well, okay. What Tabitha, Jonathan, what do you two think of their conversation?
Well, it is a culmination, I guess, of what we've kind of talked about all week. Bucky's reaction to Captain America. What he's saying in this scene makes sense to his attitude, but I don't know. I still don't know where he lies. If he's just weirded out by Big Steve, or he's just like there's propaganda that he's not buying into, but I don't know how much that's made it to those soldiers. I don't know. He seems to really have something about it that's like, why are you so uncomfortable with this?
I wonder, Jonathan, to that point, like it feels like one of the things that the movie struggles with in its treatment of Bucky is that the most interesting stuff that happens to this character happens after World War II, right? Like it happens, like the stuff those who know about Bucky and what he goes through toward the Winter Soldier, like that's the most interesting stuff. And so how they present Bucky in a way that is compelling seems a little bit machined in this movie, like how he's handling his being imprisoned and how he's handling his effort to join the club but not really feel like he's joining the club, and how do you present that on screen in a way that makes it interesting, that still makes him feel, seem strong, and sets us up for the damage that's going to be done to him. I don't know. It just occurs to me for the first time right now.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting point. I mean, why couldn't Bucky have been sitting with the group,
Yeah.
and they kind of could have had this conversation with the group sitting around? Are they designing this specifically because these two have a bigger history, and so they wanted to kind of have this private moment between friends? But, I don't know if it needed to be. Like, there's nothing about the scene that stands out as like, well, we needed to keep this, away from the rest of the group. Let's isolate these two. And what it weirdly does, I mean, Steve was sitting down talking to the guys. I mean, obviously Bucky knew. He had already talked to Bucky, because when he comes in, Bucky's like, see, told you, they're all idiots. So it's like Bucky knew what Steve was going to do. And so to that end, I don't know. I guess you could read it as either Bucky is kind of a loner. He's feeling separated from the group and kind of isolated, maybe because he is still going through some sort of PTSD that he had suffered from the hands of Zola. Who knows? Or because maybe there's a sense of this friendship, and he's really kind of like in this scene. Pete, you were bringing up the guy in the chair when we were talking about Peggy in the last minute, but this could be like Bucky, kind of the guy in the chair. He had kind of briefed Steve on how to talk to these guys. We've seen the results of that conversation, and now Steve is returning to headquarters essentially to chat with Bucky, the man in the chair, about what he just accomplished.
That is another potential place of conflict about the role that Bucky serves for Steve, because I think you have a great point. Like, he makes a natural man in the chair, but also he has an arc we have to set him up for, right? And that there is this like extra cinematic awareness that we know that at this point he'd signed on for 9 movies, and so somewhere something had to happen to him, so he can't really be the man in the chair. I almost think that all of this might be overthinking just this, 15 seconds, because really what it's here for is to get us set up for the entrance of Peggy.
Yeah, and before we get to Peggy, I mean, Jonathan, Tabitha, I mean, how does the Steve-Bucky relationship work for the two of you in this film? And then, how do you like the evolution of Bucky?
I think it works in my head. Like, my movie watching brain doesn't really have a problem with it. But when I do watch these scenes, Bucky just seems off. I mean, if it is like PTSD, that's great, but this movie doesn't really explore the seriousness of that kind of stuff. So it seems like that's not really what it is. Or, really just watching the movie, it shows Steve getting him off of a table, and you can kind of infer things from that, but it doesn't really say what happened to him or what didn't happen to him. So it's like, I just always feel like I don't really know what he's going through or why he seems to be acting differently than other people, but their relationship makes sense. Like, I get what they're saying. I think if I were to change anything, it might just, I don't know what words I would use, but just like Bucky's side of the relationship was that he was always there for Steve, always saving Steve. Maybe it'd be kind of neat that what happens to Bucky later was from him saving Captain America one more time, and Steve wrestling with like, no, I'm supposed to save you now. And he's, something like that. And I don't know. That might be interesting, because it just seems like he's so down on the whole Captain America thing in a weird way. I get the connection that he's saying, I'm here for the little guy, like the guy inside, the real guy, not the big guy, whatever you are now. But still, he just seems weird, and I don't know why he seems weird.
Tabitha, anything on that?
I hadn't really thought about it too much before our conversation here as far as him acting odd, but I guess I did always notice Bucky acting a little bit more odd. And I guess in some ways, we're supposed to infer that maybe they had this deep, long friendship, but some of that you don't really know until further movies, as far as how far back it goes, or how long they were friends, or how long Bucky was, saving them from fights and stuff. I don't know if it's ever said that they may have known each other for more than a year or anything, when we come up to this movie. So in some ways, I don't know, Bucky does seem to have kind of this weird jealousy thing that does play odd. But when it comes down to this scene, I mean, he does seem to have loyalty to his friend. He doesn't really seem to be excited about jumping back into the frying pan as much as the other guys are, but his loyalty to his friend, he's willing to follow him.
Yeah, and I guess that's the key here is that, I mean, yeah, there might be some weirdness as far as the way they're portraying the characters and the relationship with him and Captain America, but I do like that, at the very least what they're doing is kind of reminding us there is this established friendship here, whether it's a year or since they were little kids, whatever it is, there is this history between them and he is here for him. And so to that end, I like that, he does maintain that connection there. But yeah, I mean, to kind of the point of this conversation, it always feels like they're trying to do something else, like in these scenes with Bucky post-rescue, and I never feel like it quite is clicking into anything. So it always seems a little off for me. All right, well, and now, Pete, you brought Peggy up. Here she comes, stopping everybody in the bar. We get an odd little point of view shot as she's walking in, and the Howling Commandos and the rest of the bar kind of stops their singing as they look at her. And she walks in. We cut to the shot, and we see her coming in with this wonderful, wonderful red dress. How does this play for all of you?
I love the point of view shot. It's like Jaws. Like you're the shark swimming through the water. She's the shark swimming through the thing, and it's good perspective because we like when you look at the minute is pretty isolated, but she causes a commotion when she walks in, and it's enough of a commotion to cause Bucky and Steve to like lean out and see what's going on in the rest of the restaurant, and and I think it's great. It
is great. Well, she looks beautiful, but I also think that she wore that red dress just to go there and tell Steve that Stark needs him tomorrow. Like, I think that I think she totally just dressed up to go tell him.
Yeah.
Because everybody else is still in their uniform, and she could be just there in her uniform. So I think she was like, oh, I got to go tell Steve something. I'm going to, get looking good.
Okay, that's an interesting perspective. Jonathan, what's your read on it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it does everything it's supposed to do. Like, she's obviously trying to catch his eye. If that's not obvious, then that's what I think, I guess, is she's trying to catch his eye. And at the same time, she only has eyes for Steve, She walks in, she doesn't talk to any, I mean, in the point of view that we're getting, like, she's not paying attention to anybody else. She goes right to wherever he is. Somehow she knows where he is or something, but she talks to him and to him only. But she looks like she's ready to like do something, go out on the town, but that's not what she's doing.
Well, yeah, and I guess that's my
question. Especially
question.
because you have to imagine this is the town. Like,
well, yeah,
this is where everybody goes.
Yeah. Well, it is an interesting moment because, I mean, she looks gorgeous in the dress. I mean, it's a fantastic just look for her. But it does make me wonder, like, is she hoping, I guess I'll say, on coming here, giving this message from Howard to Steve about meeting in the morning, and then kind of hoping that something else would happen? Or is she very specifically knowing, walking into this, I'm going to just put this dress on to just, fool with him a little bit more, or to show how much I like him, whatever it is, to come down here, give him this message, and leave with no intention of staying, just to show this to him, just so he can see me in this light.
Right. That's exactly it. And I think you look at second 54, right? This is a second where we have Bucky looking at her kind of lasciviously, like looking her up and down. Cap is looking right at her eyes. And we have the actual promotional Cap poster right behind them. So we have all of this going on in the frame that symbolizes enormous change, right? Captain America is no longer the promotional captain. It literally says tour canceled on it. Like, that changes his entire identity. And she's showing up in the identity not of a soldier, not of a representative from the SSR or the Brits, but as a woman. And that is a massive change in their relationship. And I mean, you talk about what her mission is in this room right now. It is to pivot his eyes to her, not as a partner or a soldier or a peer or a commander, but as a woman. That's how I'm reading this, that she is seeing him as a man, he is seeing her as a woman, and she is manipulating that in this way right now.
Maybe she just was hoping that he would ask her to dance, and he's just still not stepping up to her.
Everybody shut up when she came in, so there's no music.
She should just ask him to dance. She needs to just ask him to dance.
Yes, she does.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to find out if they dance or not until tomorrow's minute, so we're going to have to wait, next week. We'll have to wait till next week to talk about minute 76 and find out if they will dance or not.
What is her line when she comes in?
She says, Howard has some equipment for you to try tomorrow morning.
I mean, if you want to analyze it by the minute, like that could be kind of a suggestive line a little bit. She's walking in.
I guess.
Like, Captain, would you like to try some equipment?
I mean, yeah.
I feel like if it was a suggestive line, it would be like, excuse me, Captain, I have some equipment for you to try tomorrow morning.
I think so too. I'm
making it Howard's equipment makes it a little weird.
But everybody's paying attention now, so.
It's
true.
It's a great look. I love that she does this. I do feel like there has to be some hope for her that it's not going to end here and her walking out by herself immediately after delivering the message. I'd like to think that she's hoping maybe we'll get a dance in. We'll see. But yeah, we won't find out until next time.
I don't actually think so. I think she's like, I'm planting seeds right now.
Yeah, it's a bold move to say, I'm just going to dress up like this just to deliver a message.
Yeah. This is Peggy Carter's power
That's what
move.
Private Lorraine would do. I'm just going to say.
Yeah. See, Private Lorraine would push him up against the bar. That's what Private Lorraine would on behalf of all women, would push him up against the bar and get busy. That's not Peggy Carter's power move.
Right.
She's planting seeds here.
Yeah, and she does have the attention of even you'll see even soldiers who are with a date are like, looking and I feel bad for their
all heads turn.
Yeah.
Well, that's because they didn't know that color was allowed in the bar. And she walks in, she's like, what? We could have all worn color?
We didn't have to wear sepia?
Can everybody see that color? Like, I just saw everything in green and yellow.
All right. Any last thoughts about anything from this moment or anything throughout the week that you wanted to talk about?
Oh, boy.
It's been a busy week.
I feel like we talked it out.
Busy week.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jonathan, Tabitha, thank you so much for joining us here on Marvel Movie Minute to talk about this movie all week. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. You guys are wonderful hosts. And so it was great to talk about one of my favorite Marvel movies with you. And I if I can just say it quick, I was thinking, I think why this one is my favorite is I didn't grow up watching a lot of superhero movies until Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man movies came out before I ever really started watching them. So this was, I think, the first one that just really captured me, that like hooked me in with the whole Marvel universe. And like after this, I was like, I want to watch every one of them as they come out. We watch them 3 times in the theater, or whatever. And so this was just, I think, no matter what, even as time goes on, you're like, oh, that kind of breaks down or whatever. I'm like, I don't care. This is still my favorite one. It was like my first one. So.
That's awesome. Well, there is a lot to love here. I have a lot of questions about it, but there's still a lot to love. And when you get Chris Evans playing a character like Steve Rogers, it just feels hand to glove. It just feels so natural, and it's a lot of fun. So,
Oh, one question that I had in my notes is Steve Rogers right-handed or left-handed?
Oh, I'm trying to think.
That's a great question.
I think he's right-handed, but
he is right-handed.
Yeah. When we see him sketching. I'm trying to remember which hand we see him sketching with. But
well, I can actually tell you right now, I actually have the opening sequence of The Winter Soldier open, and he is writing in his little list in his conversation with Sam, and he's writing with his right hand.
Okay. I just, the way he parts his hair, not that right-handers can't part to the left. It's just crossing over, that's can be awkward. But maybe his dad was left-handed, so he learned from his dad. Or, I don't know.
You're right. That's very strange. I've never thought about that.
That's very, it's those little details. Well, and that's funny because those are the sorts of details that often on set, they happen because the director is just like, your arm is blocking your face when you do it that way. Can you use your other arm? And they have them switch. And for the actor, it's just like, well, I don't use that hand to do something like that, but they will do those sorts of switches often. And so it's entirely possible. The only reason is for that.
Could it also be that the hair and makeup person is left-handed? Did it backwards?
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe stand behind him.
Who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows?
right.
Well, I do have confirmation. I jumped back, and minute 52, you do see him sketching with his right hand as well. So, there it is.
Oh, I guess I don't know if you guys have talked about this, but like Chris Evans, like I kind of feel like I've seen interviews and stuff like that. Like he may not have had this much hair before these movies. So like is there anything there with like hair plugs or hair growth or something that he's done to maintain that?
We have not talked about any artificial hair adornment.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I feel like I don't know. I felt like he was like thinning a little bit, and then now he's very lush Steve Rogers hair. I know.
So lush.
Pete and Andy are like trying to wrap up the podcast.
I know.
You just keep dredging up like controversies and things that have to be
so, like,
in the documentary later on.
Chris Evans is a bald lefty. What?
Peggy's trying to touch his chest, and I'm just trying to touch his hair.
That's right. You just want to grab it and pull. I knew it. His all along.
That was a note that I did put on here was like when she walked in, it was probably good that he didn't like do the same thing of like, put his hand out like, oh, no, nope.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
That's all my notes.
You're done.
The documentary has a lot of ground to cover. I don't know how we're going to be able to do that.
I feel like if this was made in the 80s, that would have been a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, probably.
I feel like now you couldn't even do that. You couldn't even have that moment. All right. Well, let's wrap this up before something else comes up. What a week. Lots of fun conversations with you two. Thank you again so much for joining us. Remind everybody again where they can tune in one last time to your shows.
All right. You get both of them together. theprincessbrideminute.com. Also, I did that one with Steve Lasto. And that was a fun one because him and I were complete strangers, and the magic of the internet brought us together, and we did an entire podcast. And so that's interesting. And then UHF 62nd did that with my good long friend, and we didn't last. So I don't know. I mean, there's no bad blood between us, but I don't know. Maybe something about.
I was going to say the way you put that. It's
the
like
friendship lasted the podcast.
Yeah, we still talk to each other, and we're just
don't ever do it with your real friends.
Yeah.
It's been super fun. But I think that's what. I don't know, when it's super fun and then it becomes not fun, that it really shows how much work it is, some of these things.
Yeah. And I just like to guest. So I'd like to promo moviesbyminutes.com, and where you can listen to so many of these Movies by Minutes episodes. And if you go and you just listen to like all 100 plus movies, you might hear me out there on some of those podcast episodes guesting.
Fantastic.
Any number of them.
Of them.
What are a couple that you've been on?
Oh, we've been on Minute Impossible many times.
Mm-hmm.
And we were recently on the Sandlot. I forget what exactly they're calling it, but the Sandlot Minute. We've been on Rocky Minute.
Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day. There's been a lot. Those are the ones on the top of my mind.
Plenty to check out. So listen to those. Yeah. Check out that website. You can see a whole bunch of them. And check out their websites, everybody. And remember, we have one too, Marvel Movie Minute. You can learn more about our show, and you can find our socials there, and jump into our Discord community. You can even become a member where you can get all your episodes early and ad-free. So check that out. And we'll be back next week. So Pete, thanks as always.
The tour is canceled.
Until next time, true believers.
Marvel Movie Minute is a production of True Story FM. Engineering by Andy Nelson. This season's music is Spread the News by Anthony Vega, and this season's show art is by Winston Yabo. Find the show at truestory.fm, and if your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, consider doing that for this show.